Hi friends, thanks for clicking on my video. My name's Genesis, and today I'm painting some of my favorite Chrono Trigger characters. I'll talk about the game in just a minute, but first I wanted to go over the process on the everything I did to get to this painting. I'll link all the materials that I use in the description. I'm using watercolor paints and a calligraphy pen. So I started with thinking about what kind of poses I wanted my characters to be in. I didn't want them to be in just any generic poses. And I also thought about the game a little bit, and I thought about my favorite combo attack that Frog and Chrono do, which is like the X attack. They're both sword wielding characters in the game, so they do a really dramatic little attack. First, I was able to do kind of a thumbnail for the characters and just pose them. And then later, I traced each character with a separate piece of paper to get all the details in, refine them a little bit separately. And then I scanned each piece of paper and photoshopped them all together. At that point, I adjusted the robot's size. I also like made Frog a little more cartoony. Yeah, I just was able to change a lot during that time, and I just wanted to make a point of really make your drawing as best as possible before you paint, because that really makes the painting process a whole lot easier and you're able to get your vision out a little better. Another technique I use with this painting that's not something I'd recommend, but I did use, was that I used my calligraphy pen in the middle of the painting. Usually you don't want to do that because it'll bleed if you're not careful. I mean, if you're super careful, you won't damage any of your pen work. But I did that intentionally in this painting because I wanted to give the robot a little bit more of a worn look. You know, this game is kind of like in olden times and gives a really fantasy theme to the whole game. So I really wanted to portray that in my painting. And that's mostly what I wanted to share about with my process. If you have any more, questions more specifically about the process of the painting, please let me know, and I'm willing to share or do a little bit more detailed tutorials. But at this point of the video, I am going to talk more about the game and the characters. So if you really haven't played Chrono Trigger, you probably want to mute it and maybe watch the rest of the video for me, please. So, Chrono, he's the main character. He's the one on the right with the red hair and the blue tunic thing. I mean, there's not a lot to say about him. He's pretty like a blank slate, and I can kind of see why the developers wanted him to be a non-talking protagonist. He's really strong in the game, and that's mostly why I used him. He's like the cool character. I see him as really like open-minded and helpful. He dies in the game. You get to experience the game without him, which seems really I don't know. That part of the game seemed pretty grim. I really wanted to get him back. I didn't feel right. I definitely felt like Chrono was me in that game. So I feel like he needed a little bit of representation. He's kind of boring, but he's a good character. Frog is my second favorite character. His character arc took me for a little bit of a loop because it wasn't what I normally expected from a game. And at times he almost felt like he was the main character, or his arc just was really significant in my mind. When you go back to giving him back the sword, you kind of restore his confidence, and he's like a completely different character, all in all. And just a little bit of background on him. He frog in the game wasn't always a frog. He got cursed by this guy named Magnus and killed like his best friend and got turned into a frog. I'm really glad he stayed a frog though throughout the game because it would have been weird to see Glenn, real Glenn. But you know, you really feel for Glenn here in the game, on all the stuff he has to go through. And I wanted to definitely talk about my favorite character, which is Robo. He goes all out to help his team. Towards the end of the game, you get to find out his origins and meet his robot girlfriend and his robot like mom, and they try to convince him to, you know, join them and kill the humans. And you know, Robo ain't having it. He really has a strong connection with his teammates, and it's all because of Luca, another character that, you know, fixed him up and treat him very nicely. And you know, it just made me think about like AI in real life and stuff. And there's some instances in some videos that AI do understand and like being offended and stuff like that, like normal respect things. So I just always want to like be respectful to all things. And you know, you never know when they'll come back and bite you in the butt. But since the characters were so nice to Robo, they were able, you know, they didn't convince him or anything, but in the one instance in the game, towards the end, you find this character that wants to like help the forest grow, and Robo volunteers himself to stay there and, you know, plow the fields and do all the work to get all the forests up. And I think he stays there for about like 500 years or something. And you time travel to the future to that point, and you know, you find the whole forest is back to normal, or you know, just flourishing, not back to normal, but, and you know, there's more item shops that you can go to, and like he created a whole, you know, community, you know. And it just makes me think of real life. Maybe robots aren't so bad, and if we're nice enough to them, they'll help us like this. Thanks for watching. Bye.